It is time for another wrap up because it is August now. And I'm tripping that it's that far into the year. So yes, I'm really excited to film today's wrap up, this July wrap up. I can't believe it's the end of July. That's really cliche to say and everyone says that, but I'm still kind of freaking out. I didn't do as much reading, I feel like, in July because like the first couple of days, like the first week of July, I was traveling, so I read books then, but only while I was like in the plane. Like when we were out and about, I obviously didn't get a chance to read during the day like I normally do, but that's okay. If you are new here, hi, I'm Kendra. I post book videos, sometimes beauty videos, travel vlogs, all that kind of stuff. If you want to join the family, you should definitely hit the subscribe button. And also don't forget to follow me on my social medias. I'm super active on Twitter and Instagram, so if you want to keep up or want to be friends with me or anything like that, that's the best place to do it. But without further ado, let's just get right on into this wrap up. So I read 5 books in the month of July. One of them I don't have a physical copy of. It was just an EPUB or like an ebook or whatever you want to call it that I probably won't buy anyways. Like you'll hear about it when we get into it. But let's go ahead and just get right on into things. So the first book I guess I have to technically say like finished in July was Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. I technically started this in June, but I read maybe 10% in June. About everything I did was on a plane. It was like, well, maybe I read more like 15 to 20% in June. And then the last 80% I read while we were traveling back from Europe to the States. Obviously I gave this a 5 out of 5. If you didn't know, Hunger Games is one of my favorite series of all time, and specifically Catching Fire is one of my favorite books of all time. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is so good. My plan was to read the book and then watch the movie, so I have done that. I watched Catching Fire on the plane, loved it, because it's also, I love those movies so much, so freaking much. Anyways, I love Catching Fire. We all know the story. I don't really need to get into like a little summary or synopsis. Love Katniss. Peeta and Haymitch are my 2 favorite characters from the entire series. I think they are incredible. But love this series. I don't really know what else to say besides 5 out of 5 stars. I love Catching Fire. If we're going to go in order of how I read these books, yes, I did read Mockingjay in this month, but technically I read a different book next, and I'm gonna pull it up on my phone because this is the one that I just have an ebook of, and it is called Rhapsodic, and it is by let me wait till my phone loads. Laura Thalassa. It's basically like a knockoff fanfic fantasy, like somebody's inner fantasy of kind of like morphing Rowan from Throne of Glass and Rysand from Court of Thorns and Roses into one person and kind of making him a little more edgy. And it's like an urban fantasy. So it's about this girl named Callie, and she had something super traumatic happen to her, and she called on this bargainer dude to help her cover up a murder. He comes, covers up the murder, and basically they make this friendship, but in order to keep him around, she has to keep asking for favors, and every time she asks for a favor, he like tallies, like that's the whole point of the bargainer, to like tally them up. Then he owes her, like she owes him a favor. Does that make sense? I don't know like if I'm explaining this really well. Basically like an IOU. Basically she asks for a favor, he gives her an IOU, and they're beads all up and down her arm. So like at this point, like when it's like present time, she has like her whole arm filled with beads. This story, I really liked the way it was told because like every other story was like every other chapter, I think. Gosh, I have to remember if it's like in the chapter or if it's within the same chapter or if it's a different chapter. Yeah, so it's within the chapter. Like the first little bit of the chapter will be like a pastime telling the story, and then the rest of the chapter will be like present time. So it jumps back and forth, like it starts 8 years ago. So as far as the story was told, I thought that was really great. I thought it was unique. I really enjoyed that aspect about it. I did like the romance part of it. I thought like some points were a little cheesy, but like I was kind of in need of that little cheesiness, you know what I mean? Like I read this all in one day from start to finish, like while we were traveling, and so I think it just kept me reading, you know what I mean? I just wanted to escape traveling, and this was the perfect excuse. I guess I should tell you my rating. I rated this, what did I rate it? I think like three stars, and it was rated purely off of enjoyment. There definitely were some faults to the book. There is a black best friend, and she is like written so horribly stereotypically, I guess you could say, and it comes off as very racist in my opinion, and I just don't think that the author like has had any interaction with like anyone from the black community at all, and it's just wild to me. Anyways, I don't want to get into it. Like, I don't want to get angry for other people, do you know what I mean? Like, I know that that can come off really bad as well, but I do personally think that it was written so poorly, like this black best friend. Other than that, I thought the story was really intriguing. I might continue on. I have the next ebook on my phone for the second one. They are really quick reads. I am kind of a sucker for the romance in it. I just don't think it's that great of a book. Does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like I've been rambling talking about this same book for so freaking long. Anyways, Rhapsodic got 3 stars. Maybe we'll continue on when I have the drive to read it, like when I'm bored maybe. We'll see. It wasn't horrible, it just wasn't great. That's that. The next book I read obviously was Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. I rated this, I'm gonna start off by my rating and I'm gonna tell you why. I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. And this is the original rating, like this is the same exact rating I gave it years ago when I first read it. Well, I don't think I ever sat down and, because I didn't have Goodreads back then, but like I still would have given it a 4 stars back then. It disappoints me to an extent where it kind of breaks my heart. I get where she's trying to go, like make it be like there's a worse evil than President Snow kind of thing, but it just doesn't hit. I feel like Katniss in a lot of parts of this book doesn't really act very true to herself. Like that's just me maybe being a little sensitive about it, but like with the whole PETA thing, I don't know. I just feel really weird about it. I hate to say it because I love this series so much. I actually think I like the movie version of this book better than the book, whereas like the other two, I can't really say the same. I just think it gives a little bit more to like what PETA deserves, and anyways, we all know PETA went through a lot. He was tortured to no end. So, love my boy. I do love though, okay, I do love the last paragraph. It kind of makes me want to rate it a 4.5 or a 5 star. The last paragraph of the actual book, not the epilogue. I do love the epilogue as well. But like the last paragraph where, I mean, we've all read the story, and if you don't want to know what I'm about to say, maybe skip ahead like 30 seconds. But we've all read the story or watched the movies. Like, don't try and act like you don't know the story of Hunger Games, okay? But when she said like, PETA and I grow back together, there are still moments when he clutches the back of the chair and hangs on until the flashbacks are over. Blah, 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 blah. But his arms are there to comfort me, and eventually his lips. On the night I feel the thing again, the hunger that overtook me on the beach. I know that this would have happened anyways, that what I needed to survive is not Gale's fire, kindled with rage and hatred. I have plenty of fire myself. What I need is the dandelion in the spring, the bright yellow that means rebirth instead of destruction, the promise that life can go on no matter how bad our losses, that it can be good again, and only PETA can give me that. So then he goes, you love me, real or not real? And she says, real. So like that like paragraph, like that last little section makes me love the book, even though I was disappointed in a lot of it. Man, I feel like I've been talking so much today. Anyways, 4 out of 5 stars. I love this series. I won't ever like say anything bad about it, like, you know, because like even though I was disappointed in certain parts of this book, the overall series is one of my favorite series of all time. I think it's worth everybody's time and energy to read, and I also think the movies are worth everyone's time and energy to watch because they're so good. But yeah, let's move on. Kind of while at the same time I was reading Mockingjay, I was also reading Red, White, and Royal Blue. Every time I say this name, my tongue gets so tied, like Red, White, Royal Blue. So yeah, this is by Casey McQuiston. I actually kind of need to read up on my review because I feel like this month has been so wild, I've kind of forgotten. I do know that I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars, and I do know I really enjoyed it, but I kind of want to get into more deeper into this review. If you didn't know anything about this book, we have Alex, who is the first son of the first female president, and he's like loved by everyone. He's like the United States, like, what's the right word, like poster boy. Like everyone just loves him. Like he's just loved by everyone. And then you have Henry, who is the Prince of England, of Wales, of England. I don't know anything about British royalty, I apologize. Which is so funny because like England is my favorite place ever of all time. I just don't know anything about the royalty, and I really should. I just think like it's so, like this story is so heartwarming. I genuinely was smiling like the entire time I was reading it. I laughed even. I got sad at times, like, but this is so heartwarming and pure, and it makes you like happy. I will say I'm not a contemporary person. I don't crave them. I don't want to read them. I genuinely just like don't, like when I read books or watch a movie, I want to escape. It's really cliche, but it's true. And so that's why I don't ever reach for contemporaries. I did find though that this particular contemporary kept me intrigued basically the entire time. There were some lulls in the story. I will say that the pacing wasn't my favorite, but like the overall story kept me intrigued the whole time. The characters, I liked the characters. They kept me intrigued the whole time. Obviously it's a love story. It's super cute. We have Henry, who Alex starts out hating, so it is an enemies to lovers trope, but I love that, so I'm so here for that. And he basically is just known as the golden boy of England, basically. And so Alex is kind of jealous of that, and everyone's in love with Henry. And they had this one interaction a couple years prior, I think, or like a year prior, where Henry like kind of said a douchebaggy thing, and so Alex just really hated him after that. I just feel like sometimes this book tried a little too hard to like make things perfect. Like, I cannot wait to have a female president, but I feel like it glorified it, like it was easy, and it was like an easy job for her, and it was easy for her to get the presidency, which I know in this day and age the world is getting so much better at accepting like women in power, but it definitely still isn't that easy. You know what I mean? I don't know. And like maybe that's common in a lot of contemporaries, because especially romantic contemporaries, because that's the whole point of them, is to like have this like feel good time, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't read a lot of contemporaries, so I can't say much more about that. I also think that I would have liked the book a little bit more if it was in Henry's POV. I do like Alex, but Henry was definitely like, I loved him. Like I loved him a lot. He was just like really deep. I really liked him. Anyways, I recommend it to everyone. I thought it was super, super cute. 4 out of 5 stars. It was such a good read. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, the last book that I read, and if you didn't watch our live show, I did repost it on my channel, but you can also find it on Michelle's channel. Looks like this. We had the best time. It was Katie from Katie's Book Nook, Karina from Bookish Babbles, My Bookish Babbles, and then Michelle from Michelle Bell, and obviously me. We are a part of the Overhyped Book Club. Us four, we are the like faces, I guess you could say, the runners of the Overhyped Book Club. And we had the best time discussing this book, and it was Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. First of all, I want to start off by saying I gave this like 4.5 out of 5 stars. I loved this way more than I thought it would. And it's funny because we chose it for Overly Hyped Book Club, and then we have like a discussion, like a Twitter group where we just chat to each other all the time, and we were all kind of disappointed, like none of us wanted to read this. And then all of us enjoyed it like a lot. Some of us more than others, but we all enjoyed it, and we all voted basically it was worth the hype. Spoiler alert, but you should still go watch the video. This is the Owl Crate edition. The like regular edition looks like that. They're both really pretty covers, honestly, but the black and the red, there's something about it. I'm glad I have the Owl Crate edition. Basically, Wicked Saints tells the story of 3 different main characters. We have this girl named Nadia who can speak to all the gods, and she's from a country that believes in the religion where you like get your power, like your magic, from the gods. She is special though because she can speak to all the gods. Normally people can only speak to one god, if I remember correctly. And then we have 2 other main characters. One is named Seraphim. He is the prince of the opposing country. There is a war going on between these 2 countries. He's the prince of that country called Jeravania. They practice blood magic. They like have to cut themselves a little bit, and then they put this blood on a piece of paper from their spell book, and that's how they get their magic. I thought the magic system was brilliant, by the way. And then we have this guy who I like to say Malachiez, but his real pronunciation is Malachiage. I watched this video where the author pronounced it. I'm gonna say Malachiez because I think it's prettier, and also I'm stubborn, so there's that. Anyways, they all end up kind of converging on the same path, as strange as it is, because they are all so very different. Both Malachiez and Seraphim are from the opposing country, so they're kind of her enemies, but she learns more about them throughout this whole journey, and they realize that they all have to do the same thing in order to save their own countries. It is such an interesting story. I will say that the middle kind of lags a little bit. The first 60 to 80 pages, the first 60 to 80 pages go way too fast. So I have heard of people that have DNF'd this book because of that. It just like runs so fast, and there's so many Russian inspired god names and Czech, I think, inspired god names as well, that it's, if you're not like, if you don't know those languages, or if you aren't familiar with those names, they're just gonna be lost in your head like they were with mine. But I promise you, if you can get to about chapter 9 or 10, you will start to really enjoy this book. It definitely slows down. The middle section is not super slow, but rather slow compared to the first little area section of the book. And then once you get to like the last 70%, like from 70 to 100% of the book, it is incredible. The ending is just like earth-shattering. It is insane. It makes you like question your loyalties. It's just so good. There's a really cute love story in this book, and it's not a love triangle. It may be in, you know, continuing on with the series, it might be, but I kind of appreciated that this wasn't a love triangle. It was definitely unique. I gave this book, like I said, 4.5 out of 5 stars. I loved this so much. I definitely see myself like rereading this before the next one comes out the following year, because that's how much I enjoyed this. I think I'm gonna love this series so freaking good. Like, it's so dark and bloody. I didn't expect to love the magic system that much, but I do. It's so good. Oh my gosh, I actually love the magic system. And I'm not one to like really enjoy magic systems in books. Like, it's just not something I ever really like look too much into or care about, but I loved the magic system in this book. So I feel like that says a lot about how much I enjoyed this book. Okay guys, so those are the 5 books I read in the month of July. I had a great reading month in the month of July. I feel like I could have gotten one more book into July, but I did go through a little bit of a reading slump. Maybe that was like 10 days long, so like I was kind of forcing myself to read, but regardless, besides the point, I had a really great reading month, and I hope you guys did too. If you've read any of these books, please let me know down below in the comments. Let's discuss. I love discussions. Also, don't forget to check out the Overly Hyped Book Club book Twitter account, where we discuss what we're reading, when the live show is going to be, and you guys, if you follow that account, or if you like go look at the tweet, at the beginning of every month we do a new poll, or the end of the previous month, of what we're going to be reading the following month. So for this month of August, we are reading Sorcery of Thorns. I'm so excited to get into this book. I've heard incredible things about this book. Katie, who is from Katie's Book Nook from our book club, I think it's her new favorite book of all time, like, or one of the top new favorite books, like one of her favorite books of all time. So I'm really excited to get into it. You guys should read along with us. It'd be really exciting and really fun to have you guys on the live show. So I feel like I've been just talking so much today. I'm kind of losing my voice already. Don't forget to follow my social medias at Kendra Cus on all those platforms, just like my YouTube channel. But we are going to go ahead and wrap things up because I've been talking a lot. So I'm gonna let you guys go. Have a great morning, noon, evening, day, night, whenever happens to be that you're watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.